Hey, it's Inve, here today with something different. The awesome people at Amazing CSUN Games were nice enough to invite myself and Celtic Spear, who will be joining us for today's video, to try out their new game Mecha Break prior to its announcement at the Game Awards a few days ago. A few other well-known Armored Core fans got invited as well, so expect to see a few more videos from the community on this game. The version that we played was an early test build, so our initial impressions should be taken with a grain of salt, as everything we played is subject to change.
Hello everyone! First up, let's talk about the base mechanics of the game. The bases are going to be very familiar for people who have played Armored Core in the past, as they borrow a lot from the core mechanics of AC. Every mech has walk-in, boost dashing, and quick boosting as universal movement mechanics. They can also gain altitude by flying upwards with their thrusters, and even have access to a very fast fall option to instantly go back down to the floor. On top of basic movement options, some mechs have unique movement tools like grappling hooks, enhanced mobility modes, and one can even transform into a flight mode as well. Most of these movement tools are fed by an energy bar that you will have to manage and utilize wisely, as running out of energy means losing access to most of your mobility tools.
In terms of weaponry, each mech has a main and secondary weapon on top of 3 special weapons that range from stuff like missiles, railguns, and howitzers to other forms of equipment like healing drones and mobility kits. Each mech has a lock circle, not unlike Armored Core 5 or Verdict Day, used to lock on weapons. Some weapons require a lock to fire, like drones and missiles, but others can be fired without waiting for the lock-on time to finish, like the howitzers, melees, or some sniper rifles. These special weapons and abilities have their own cooldowns. Some of them run off their own resource bar separate from your energy that's used for mobility. For melee, you have a basic combo string alongside some special attacks, like a diving attack that you can execute by attacking from the air. Every mech comes with a regenerating overshield, like the Primal Armor from Armored Core 4 and 4 Answered, that needs to be depleted before they take direct damage, but melee weapons can bypass their shields entirely, on top of depleting it with each hit. They also do stagger, which allows you to stun block the opponent during a combo.
We played 2 modes during the alpha, both were 6v6 on different maps. I suspect that each map will have its own game mode tied to it, as both of the maps that we tried appear to be tailored to the mode we played on that map. I'll briefly describe both modes, but unfortunately we weren't allowed to record our own footage. Mode 1 was a domination style mode where we had to take and hold objectives A, B, and C to gain more points than the enemy while getting kills. The map, called Corrupt Sinkhole, was segmented into 3 major points by cliff faces. Point A being on an island between point C and B, with some interactable elements like energy crystals that give you a small buff when you stand near them, and elevators that allow less agile strikers to move around the map. There were also NPC turrets that will attack players from both teams in the middle. Both teams spawn opposite to each other, with point A in the middle, which unlocks before point B and C. Each point has a short delay on its activation, forcing each team to fight around the points for a moment before attempting a capture. To capture a point, you need to hold the interact button on the point for several seconds, without being interrupted by damage or movement. So capturing points can be quite challenging with an entire team present. Some strikers can be extremely potent when capturing points, like for example the Welkin, which can put down a giant energy field that allows it to capture a point virtually unchallenged. Capturing the points is of vital importance to achieve victory, as neglecting the points and only going for kills will not generate enough score to outpace the enemy.
The other map we played was a large open desert with a hybrid capture the flag deathmatch mode called Eye of Misra. This map had a large amount of destructible cover on it as opposed to the first map, which didn't have too much. There were also some AI enemies placed on this map, but as with the first map, they weren't very threatening. Eye of Misra is considerably easier to navigate around for ground units than Corrupt Sinkhole due to the lack of sinkholes and cliffs. In the featured mode on this map, the first team to reach 100 points won, with kills awarding 1 point, flags awarding 15 points, and remaining at the flag drop point after depositing the flag, awarding 15 points per 5 seconds. The flags were neutral flags that both teams were going for, as opposed to a more traditional capture the flag mode. However, the deposit point for flags was the same for both teams and is the main defining feature of the map, a giant spaceship that launches at the end of the game. Flags spawned at several points on the map, starting at 30 seconds in for the first spawn, and subsequent flags spawned at several locations across the map at semi-random periods. There's also a random event on this map, the Sandstorm. The Sandstorm entirely disables your FCS until it subsides. Melee weapons, however, will still hone in as normal. Respawning in this mode takes progressively longer as you die more and more, with respawns starting at 30 seconds for the first death and going up to 36 seconds after your 7th death. My favorite biped strikers, or BSs as they're called, were Inferno, a DPS mecha with a giant laser and a wide range area attacks that can hit the entire team. Unfortunately, we don't have any dedicated footage of Inferno's abilities to show, as they weren't provided for this video. Welcome, the Beefcake, melee-focused bruiser that can drop a literal arena to trap an opponent in with him, before mercilessly beating them to death. And Alisnes, which is an all-arounder mech that has a second life after its initial armor is popped off. In our first playtest, we weren't able to get its armor back after losing our first life, but it looks like that's been changed for the next tests, as footage CSUN has provided us show it regaining its armor.
As for my favorites, first off I want to talk about the Narukami. It has an incredibly strong stealth ability that allows you to set up decoys that still locks and turn not only you but your allies fully invisible. Its sniper rifle does a ton of damage when fully charged, and its unique grappling hooks give it great mobility. Its main weakness is that in order to access its full damage potential, it has to stay stationary to charge its rifle, as uncharged shots deal significantly less damage. And as a universal weakness of gunners, it has to deplete the opponent's overshield before dealing direct damage to the mech.
Something to note, this mech's stealth is so good I actually didn't realize it was in the game until we made this video.
Next up is the Aquilla. Unfortunately, we aren't allowed to show footage of it, just like with the Inferno. While it is another dedicated sniper, it plays vastly different from the Narukami. And its playstyle gave me shades of a Verdict Day sniper AC. It has a hover mode instead of a grappling hook, and while lacking stealth capabilities, it has a stronger shield to tank range damage and funnel-like drones that stun the enemy, allowing you to force people into vulnerable positions for you or your allies to capitalize on it. It is also very visually inspired by one of my favorite designs in fiction. Last but definitely not least is the Tricera, my beloved. I had a complete 180 when playing this striker because I thought it sucked at first, but once I got used to it and its kit, I loved it. It is the tank of all tanks in this game. It has 4 Gatling cannons and a giant howitzer. It can also switch into Fortress mode, where it goes into a stationary position and deploys its shields, allowing it to tank enormous amounts of damage while bringing all of its own weapons to bear. Not only that, but it can double as a healer, as it can deploy healing drones to repair itself and nearby allies.
At one point, I tried to 1v1 count Tricera with my Alisnes, and it burned through both of my health bars before I was able to take him halfway down because he was in Fortress mode. That is, unfortunately, about all we've got to talk about for now. If you would like to play the game, I'll leave a link down in the description for the sign up for the next tests. And if you enjoyed the video and want to see more content on Mecha Break as we get more access, please subscribe to both my channel and Celtic Spears. The link will be in the description. Both of us plan to do more content on this game.
Alright, goodbye.